What if a simple line could change the way you think, feel, and navigate life? There was a time when I faced personal challenges that seemed overwhelming. By tuning into my intuition, I found a path to overcome these obstacles and recenter my life. Hi everyone, my name is Se Jin, also known as Journeyman. And in this video, I'd like to share with you a meditation that I developed about a year and a half ago, and that I've been doing for about a year now. This meditation is based on drawing a simple line. And so I'll be referring to it as a line drawing meditation. And what it does, I argue, that it strengthens your connection to your intuition, which improves and enhances your life. My own definition of intuition is that it's a feeling that nudges you in the right direction. And it's also known as your gut feeling and your inner voice. And I'd like to think that it's one of the most powerful parts of who we are as human beings. I think it's especially relevant in this day and age where many of us are becoming more and more disconnected with our intuition, and also given the prevalence of mental health struggles such as anxiety, depression, isolation, burnout, insecurity. And I think it's safe to say that all of us, to some certain degrees, have experienced some of these struggles. So stay tuned. In this video, I'll show you this meditation that has really transformed my life in terms of improving so many aspects, including decision making, creativity, emotional clarity. And it looks like my cat approves. She's looking forward to our discussion coming up, as well as a walkthrough demonstration. So again, stay tuned. I'm really looking forward to showing you something very special. The core concept of this meditation is that it can improve and enhance your life by strengthening your connection with your intuition. And this can lead to many positive outcomes. I've listed 3, which we'll talk about. And I could easily dedicate a whole 15-minute, 20-minute video to each one of these individually, but I'm going to try to condense it down. And those 3, let me just list them right now. The 3 are improved decision making, that's number 1. Number 2, enhanced creativity. And number 3, greater confidence. So why don't we go to number 1? And I'll start by asking the question, how does a stronger connection with your intuition lead to improved decision making? Well, I argue that it will do 2 things, which is basically allow you to make faster decisions and ones that are well aligned with your values. And when you combine those 2 things, it's a recipe for positive outcomes. In terms of the values, I'm going to wait for the next discussion on creativity to talk about values. But in terms of the faster decision-making part, it's basically just a reflection of how your intuition works, which is very immediate and in the moment. So you'll be talking with someone and you'll get that intuitive nudge or feeling about that person. So the faster decision making I'm thinking about as being more efficient, and that contrasts maybe hasty or impulsive or emotionally driven decision making, right, which can lead to other kinds of outcomes. And I think that's about all I wanted to say. I have my notes down here, so you'll notice I'll be looking down once in a while. I think that's about all I wanted to say for the first point, which is improved decision making. Now, let's go on to number 2, which is enhanced creativity. This is a real interesting topic for me. But let's start by talking about values. And many people think that your values are located in your subconscious. Um, you know, I believe that your values, your intuition, and your subconscious, they're all interconnected. Having said that, they have distinct roles. And I'm not an authority in the field of psychology, but I really like this idea of the subconscious. And even if you don't believe in it, you can just think about there being a space within us where it's kind of like all of these elements are freely interacting, and they could be anything from images, emotion, memory, dreams, and they're just in this fertile water, like right below the surface of the water, and above is the conscious analytical mind, right, floating above the water. And so these elements are like little fish interacting freely and kind of making interesting and unexpected connections. So I like to think that by connecting more strongly with your intuition, by default allows you to connect with your subconscious, and this fuels creativity. So if we look at it in terms of that analogy, when we are able to relax our body and sort of put our mind to the side in terms of our analytical mind, our logical mind, our thinking, if we can sort of just relax that as well. And what happens, I believe, is these things start floating to the surface, these elements within our subconscious, or whatever you want to call that inner zone, that inner space within us, and they start floating to the surface, and we're able to see them and maybe even pick one up and bring it into our kind of our conscious experience and look at it in detail. And this happens, I'm sure, I know all of you have experienced it, where you might be doing an activity that's kind of like an autopilot activity, whether it's driving, showering, folding laundry, chopping vegetables or something. And, for me, it has to be a little longer, like in terms of more than 5 minutes, driving. Did I already say driving? But yeah, it's like an autopilot activity where your body is involved. It's physical, and there's a rhythmic quality, and you don't have to think. You just kind of sort of like zoning out, right? But you don't have to think of it specifically in that way. So when you're doing this, you sort of settle down your mind. You don't have to think. This activity is automatic, right? We've done it many times. It's in our muscle memory. And as a result of that, sometimes we have these flashes of, I guess you can say, inspiration, I guess, where we have an idea or we remember something. We remember a detail from a dream, something like that. A childhood memory kind of comes back to us. And it's largely because we have kind of relaxed our mind, and these elements have floated up to the surface as a result of that, kind of getting your mind a little bit into the back seat, right? So again, intuition connected to the subconscious, fueling creativity, right? So we can all benefit from enhanced creativity, even if we're not in the traditional arts, or we don't make a living making artwork. The more creative we can be, the more our everyday lives will improve, I believe, and our overall lives will improve. Greater confidence. Why don't we start the conversation by presenting the question again, which is, how does a stronger connection with your intuition lead to greater confidence? And maybe I can just talk about this by providing an example. My son, he's 8 years old, and excuse me, he is very naturally curious, as many 8-year-olds are, and asks a lot of questions. Some of these questions are pretty deep, philosophical in nature, and questions about life and death, things like this. And at the beginning of the period when he started asking these questions, I struggled in terms of wanting to provide a good answer for him, or just feeling inequipped or ill-equipped to answer them. So what happened is, over the years, I relied on my intuition a little bit more, learned how to do it, and practiced it with him, and learned and continue to learn how to speak intuitively with him. And basically, for me, I mean, it might sound a little bit of a mysterious procedure, speaking intuitively, or speaking from the heart, or even listening with your heart, or listening intuitively. In terms of speaking intuitively, I really do believe it's a matter of just relaxing and letting some words fly and shaping them in the moment. Be spontaneous and shape them in the moment. It's also related to what we were talking about before, in terms of allowing these internal elements to kind of float up to the surface, which happens as a result of those automatic pilot type of activities. In this case, if he's just going to be answering or asking me a tough question, I'm not in the middle of an automatic activity. So I just really have to try to take a deep breath and relax, and then just let the words fly. That's about the best way I can describe it, in terms of kind of a more, what's the right word? A less abstract kind of way of approaching it. As a result of this, it's interesting, because I really do feel enhanced connection, and I think he does too. I think also we develop trust for each other a little bit more, especially on his side, his trust for me. And it's definitely a really interesting and felt experience. In terms of the process itself, or kind of what is happening, what I believe is happening when you do speak from this place, I think your words get shaped and imbued with more feeling. It's also that you're speaking from that place within you, where you do have your values, your personality, your memories, your experiences, and all of these things shape the words. And I think, once again, creates for a more meaningful and stronger connection. Having said that, I think it extends outward to everyone that you speak to, strangers, friends, family. And I think, once again, you're able to develop, through this kind of speaking, a stronger bond, stronger connection, and more trust. And I think this even extends further outward. It kind of ripples even more outward, beyond the conversation, and into the world. So it definitely is a positive thing. So that is greater confidence. And just to recap this discussion, I have, as a result of learning how to speak intuitively and practicing it and getting better at it, I'm constantly practicing and getting better. Through this process of speaking intuitively and kind of relying on my intuition more, I am able to become more confident as a parent, become more confident in my communication skills with my son. So if we are to recap the larger discussion, I think it's important, because sometimes I get a little bit off track. But we spoke about this being a line drawing meditation, and how I really do feel that it can improve and enhance your life by specifically creating a stronger connection with your intuition. And this leads to so many positive outcomes. We've only touched upon 3 of them. Number 1, improved decision making. Number 2, enhanced creativity. And number 3, greater confidence. So why don't we move right into the demonstration? Okay, so let's start the demonstration with this symbol that you're all familiar with. It's the northeast, west, south symbol, and we're going to add the diagonals. And so we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different directions we can move our line in. And why don't I just show you, this isn't the actual meditation, but I'm just going to show you what I mean by, being able to use all 8 directions. I'm just randomly moving my line using those 8 directions, okay? So you get the idea. Having said that, why don't we move into the beginning of the exercise, the beginning of the meditation rather is, I'm just going to do a quick tutorial about peeking. You're going to take a look, take a peek, or peeking. I'm going to be looking, right? And that means, well, my eyes are closed now, okay? During the meditation, your eyes will be closed. And in order for you to get a sense of where you're at on the page, you can take a peek. So right here, I'll peek right here. And that means just opening and closing your eyes. So just, you can look for about a second. Your head should be tilted downward with your eyes pointed at the page. And so you can take a peek. I'll take a peek again. Peek, open, close. I'll do it right here. Peek, open, close. And that actually gives me an idea of when I need to reset. So I reset before I hit the edge of the page. If you run off the edge of the page, no big deal. That could be your cue. You can just have something underneath your paper. And so let's go into the meditation itself. And I'm just going to talk through it. And I might throw out a lot of different things, but it'll give you a sense, I think, in real time. So I'm going to pick a random direction here. I hope my hand doesn't get in the way, but I'm going to pick this way. And I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to breathe deeply. And I'm going to visualize the pen tip drawing the line. That's very important. I'm going to peek, open, close. I'm reaching the edge of the page, so I'm going to reset. I'm going to visualize that pen tip drawing the line as I'm drawing it. So I'm right now in the present moment. I'm very much in the moment. And I'm going to peek again. And I'm going to reset. Now let's see if by just doing these, this is, I call the default action. Just by doing this default action, maybe I can see something. Here it is, straight down. My eyes are closed. I'm breathing deeply. Now I'm visualizing the pen going straight down, the pen tip drawing the line, generating the line. I'm going to peek. I'm going to have to reset back to the center. I'm going to peek. The other reason why I peek is to refresh the image of that line as I draw it. So the visualization, peek, the visualization in my head gets refreshed. And that's important because that allows you to kind of create a more distinct peak going down. It allows you to create a more distinct landscape for your intuition to nudge you in a new direction. And so I see that new direction and I see it in my mind's eye. And we'll talk about that, how your intuition and your mind's eye kind of interact, your conscious mind, your analytical mind, how it interacts with your intuition. Reset. Now let's see if I can get a flow going. You sort of have the basics down. You sort of understand the basics, I think, and I'm going, let me move my page over because I'm not centered on my notebook. Let's continue that line. I looked down for that, just in case you were wondering. Oh, I went off the edge, no problem. Go back to the center. Let's see if I can get a little flow going. So I see this now. Relax, visualize the line as it's going up diagonally to the right, and I see this straight down. Relax, I'm going to peek. I refresh the little image of the pen tip drawing the line. I see a diagonal up. Relax, visualize the line as I'm going diagonal up to the left. I'm going to peek. I'm reaching the edge of the page, and then I also refresh the little image in my head. I'm going to reset. And I see diagonal up to the right, diagonal down to the right, peak. I still have some space here. Oh, straight up. Diagonal down to the left. Straight over to the right. Peak. I refreshed the image, the visualization reset, and I got a sense of when I needed to do that reset. Diagonal down to the left. And you notice that as I'm approaching as I'm approaching the edge of the page, I think by default my intuition knows that I only have a certain number of directions to work with, right? If I'm going up this way, I can't go this way, or I'm going to run off the page, right? So I think by instinct, your intuition knows that this is what's going on, and then you're limited now, and which is fine. That's all part of the meditation. So let me just tell you briefly what I believe is going on here. The way I look at it is your intuition is the source of the change of direction. What I mean by that is that I believe your intuition sends out the signal, it's the nudge or the feeling, and your mind, your conscious mind, your analytical mind translates that signal into an image, which is what you see if you manage to see it, the image in your mind's eye, right? So once again, the intuition or your intuition sends the signal, which is the feeling or the nudge, to your conscious mind, which then translates that into information, or in this case for me, it's a static image of the line moving in a different direction, or of that angle. So you have the default direction and then the change of direction showing as an image. Some of you may see a video clip. I know sometimes I do see a video clip of the line actually moving and changing direction, but for the most part it is a static image. And so this is kind of how I envision it, or I see it. Not envision, but this is how I perceive it. And I think it's important to note that I really do believe that it's hard to separate out these zones, or these inner zones, these inner spaces. I think everything is interconnected. So your intuition and your conscious mind, they're certainly interconnected, but they have distinct roles. And I think this is how I'm able to kind of imagine this as what's going on when you do change direction. In conclusion, the key takeaway is that this is more than a drawing exercise. It's a meditation for life. And while the technique is simple, I think its impact is really profound, because it helps us connect with our intuition. And I believe that this is one of the most powerful parts of who we are as human beings. Please try this out and let me know in the comments how you felt. Did you experience hesitation maybe, or freedom? I'll be going into a deeper dive into some of the more specific aspects if there's engagement with this video. And I'm currently working on a book that will be doing just that as well. And so I look forward to sharing more of this meditation practice with you. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much.